Hey folks, welcome back to another Throat Punch Lunch. We are in a crunch time right now. We just got back from UKGE, and next week we're headed out to Origins. And there's a lot of prep work going into that as well. So we've got a pretty cool episode for you. It's, again, on the shorter side. I'm having not difficulty, but it's just life. Life is happening to some of my contributors, and they're having to take a step backwards. So keep them in your thoughts, and we'll hopefully see them in some future episodes coming up in the near future. Now, I wasn't able to do an actual segment for myself, but I do want to give you a little sneak peek at one of the videos I was able to shoot while I was over in UKGE. So let's take a look at it real quick.
Warhammer Underworld Shadespire is a game of arena combat. These warbands are trapped in a cursed city where they have to just keep on fighting and dying and coming back and doing it all over again. It's a very quick game. You can play a game in 45 minutes easily, but once you know how to do it, you'll get a game done in 20 minutes. It's very tactical. You've got deck building elements, so you've got each warband comes with a deck of objective cards and a deck of power cards, which gives them upgrades and ploys that they can play during the game to make the fighters stronger, make them do exciting extra moves and things. Should we show them how it all works? Sure. Yeah? Alright. So you'd start off with your fighters on your starting hexes.
So that is just a little tidbit of a much longer video, interview, and overview of Warhammer Underworld Shadespire that's coming out from Games Workshop later on this year. And you'll find out a little bit more about that in the video. That's coming on Friday this week, so keep an eye out for that. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get to the rest of the episode. Throat Punch Lunch. Let's hit it.
Hi, this is Ambie from Board Game Blitz, and this is Strategically Thematic, the segment where I talk about theme and different strategic games. This week I'm at HeavyCon, a convention run by Heavy Cardboard, which is a podcast that talks about heavy board games, war games, and 18xx games. So let's take a look. HeavyCon is a small convention in Denver, Colorado, run over Memorial Day weekend. This was my first year going, and it was really neat being able to play heavy games all weekend. When you think of heavy games, theme might not be the first thing you think about, but there are also a lot of unique and interesting themes in heavy Euro games. One of the games I saw played a lot at the convention was Pax Renaissance, where you're a banker working behind the scenes in Europe to steer it out of the Dark Ages. The game is full of historical flavor in the rulebook, cards, and actions. Another game that's pretty popular, and actually got nominated for the Kennerspiel des Jahres this year, is Terraforming Mars, where you're a corporation funding different projects to help terraform Mars. There were also quite a few prototype games at HeavyCon. One game was themed around asbestos mining, and the designers told us about the history of asbestos mining as they were explaining the rules to us. Another game was a horse racing game, and the racing mechanics were actually really interesting. Each horse had a point in the race where it would reach its maximum speed, but then it would get tired out afterwards, and you'd have to make sure it didn't wear out too fast. Of course, there were also a bunch of games with more common themes at HeavyCon, like farming or train games. I personally played 3 different 18xx games over the weekend, and I saw a lot more being played throughout the convention. As I've mentioned before on my segment, even though these 18xx games don't have the best art, some of them are actually pretty thematic. One of the games I played was 1880 China, which has a whole era of communism in the middle of the game. Like many other great conventions, HeavyCon had some giant versions of games. But to stay true to the name of the convention, these giant games were heavy games. Age of Steam XL and even an 18xx game, 1861. I had a great time at HeavyCon meeting new friends and gaming with them, and I'm looking forward to the rest of the convention season.
This is Cannaday from Epic Gaming Night, and this is Roll with the Punches, where we talk about randomness in games and how it can make a game exciting, and also how to twist luck into your favor. Today we're going to take a look at a tile-laying dungeon crawl game called Drakon. In Dracon, players are playing an adventuring party trying to get out of Dracon's lair. She's trapped all the adventurers inside and says that the first one to get 10 coins will be able to escape from the dungeon, and all the rest of the adventurers will be devoured. So the adventuring party turns against each other and you're all trying to race to get 10 coins first. And if you get 10 coins, you win the game. So this is a tile laying game where you start with a hand of 4 tiles, and you have tiles that do all sorts of different things and have all kinds of crazy icons on them. So you're going to be playing either a tile from your hand into the dungeon or moving your character 1 space. The only rules for tile placement is that you can't place an arrow on these tiles facing towards each other. So as long as the arrow goes away from them, you can play the tile. And once you play a tile down, you get to draw a new one. So part of the randomness in this game is that you get random tiles each time you draw, so you're trying to kind of either get rid of the bad ones and put them in front of the other adventurers as they're going through the dungeon, and put the good tiles in front of you, and maybe trigger some different special abilities on your tiles to win the game, and try to figure out how to manipulate the tiles to get stuff. So the way the tiles work is that when you move onto them, you'll get to activate that ability. So if you move on a coin tile, you'll get to draw a coin from the thing. The coins will have different denominations. They can be 1s, 2s, or 3s. And the first player to collect 10 gets to immediately win the game. So there's situations where you'll have a few coins and you'll see the other players, you keep them hidden and face down so you're not quite sure what your opponents have, and each time you're grabbing, you're hoping to get the high value ones. And if you think someone might have a high value one, you can do different tiles where you get to actually steal coins from like the player to your right or left. So there's a decent amount of take that. There's also tiles that let you move the dragon. When you first place it on there, you get to place the dragon on the tile. And if the dragon ends on a space, they'll go back to the start space and lose one of their coins. So there's all sorts of crazy random tile things, and you're trying to set up like a loop of coins sort of so that you can run around and get lots of bonuses and get lots of coins. But an interesting thing is that the other players can kind of follow you around and try to go the same direction you're going, and you might try to like split off if you have a bunch of good stuff, or maybe you can halfway work together with another player and just hope that you can get to the 10 coins before they can. Lots of interesting random things in this take that tile placement game with the randomness of drawing the tiles and getting the coins, but that is Dracon by Tom Jolly. Dracon is definitely an interesting little tile laying, like filler type game where you're trying to lay out the tiles and get those gold coins. It's interesting how you get different tiles randomly into your hand and you're trying to figure out which ones to play, whether you're going to try to mess up your opponents or try to build a tiny little circle engine or whatever so that you can get gold for yourself. And also the randomness of the gold coins you get, that they have values of 1, 2, and 3. And you're most likely to get 2s, but if you get like 3s, then you can like be ahead of the game. And if you get 1s, you can like lose. And it's always interesting to like be counting the other people's coins and being like, they have like 5, so you know they probably should have gotten to 10 by now to win the game. So if they get 1 more, they're definitely gonna be like in the winning, but they could have a ton of 1s. So you're never quite sure who's currently in the lead in the game. So it makes the game kind of interesting and keeps it a little bit tense as people are like on the edge of their seats to see who's gonna be the first one to get those 10 coins. It's definitely a light, silly take that game, but Dracon is a lot of fun and with interesting randomness. So thanks so much for checking out Roll with the Punches, and I'll see you next time on Throat Punch Lunch.
Hey gamers, this is Liz Davidson from Beyond Solitaire, and I'm here to bring you another episode of SoloThrash, Amerithrash gaming for those of us who like to play alone. Now, I don't know about you guys, but sometimes I'm just too busy to take out a physical board game, especially recently when I've been traveling a ton. And that is when I ask for help from my trusty iPad. There are in fact some apps that not only allow you to play board games, but to play them solo. In terms of board games and board game apps, The Game is probably the simplest and the most addictive. Despite its threatening skull theme, this is actually just a game about numbers. Essentially, you have a set of cards with the numbers 1 to 99, well 2 to 99 on them, and your goal is to try to play all of the cards on stacks that go down from 99 or up from 1 to 100. It also has probably one of the most hilariously overblown introductions that I've ever seen in an app, which I'll demonstrate for you. I don't know what would make you not want to play this game. If you're looking for a dedicated solo card game, you can't go wrong with Onirim, which is one of Shadi Torbey's games specifically designed for solo players. In this game, you are a dreamer wandering through a dangerous labyrinth, trying to find the doors that will help you escape. At every turn, you are menaced by nightmares that force you to make sacrifices, whether it's cards from your hand, cards from the deck, or doors that you've already found. This game is fun, strategic, and meditative, and in app form, it's easier than ever to give in to the urge to play just one more round. If you're willing to go all out on a solo game for your iPad, you might want to try the app version of Pathfinder, the adventure card game. Although you either have to pay money or grind to fully unlock all of the app's features, the iPad version of this game is a convenient way to keep track of complicated decks, party member stats, and overall progress. Although I enjoy the original analog version of this game, the game box is enormous, and sometimes it's just a relief to be able to fire up my iPad and play without making a mess. Now, I will be the first to admit to you that I generally prefer to play my games analog style. I do enjoy video games, and I do enjoy board game apps, but if I can get an actual board game out on the table, that is when I'm happiest. However, there are so many apps out there now that make your gaming experience smooth, easy, and quick, and sometimes that's exactly what you need, especially if you've been on the road a lot. So, if you're going to be traveling, being on an airplane, being in a hotel room, and you don't have all the room in the world, I highly recommend some of these apps for your iPad.
Hey everybody, it's Jay, and it's time to talk about your Flair. On 15 Pieces of Flair, I'm going to show you guys some ways to spruce up that game room. Hey, I just got my new game room built, and I knew the first thing I needed in here was some new shelves. And I know most of you guys love the Cadillac shelves, and that's understandable. Those are some good shelves. But I personally prefer custom-built shelves. So, figured I'd knock two birds out with one stone here. One, show you guys how to make some custom shelves for whatever you need. And two, show you how to make a unique blue stain finish, like these ones here. So, let's check it out.
For these shelves, we're going to need a nice wide piece of wood. This is a 1x12. We're going to need a circular saw, some sandpaper, blue t-shirt dye, polyurethane, an electric screwdriver, shelving brackets, small screws. We're also going to need a carpenter square, an electric sander, rubber gloves, a stainless steel bowl, very fine grit sandpaper, and a level. First, you need to measure your board to the length that you need, and then mark it on one side. Then, to get a perfect 45-degree angle, you use the carpenter square to measure the width of the board. Then you mark that exact length back on the opposite side of your original mark. Then you draw a straight line between the marks. After that, you'll carefully cut along that line with the circular saw. Be sure one piece of the board you're cutting is secured from falling, and keep a good grip on the other piece to secure it from falling also. For the next piece, since you've already got a 45-degree angle cut, all you'll need to do is cut straight across. Measure the length you need, mark a straight line, and cut along that line with your circular saw. Using your sandpaper, smooth out all of your edges and remove any blemishes on the wood. After a while, I upgraded to my electric power sander, so I suggest you just start with that if available. Then wipe down both pieces with a damp rag. Then, after you put on your rubber gloves, grab your stainless steel bowl, fill it with steaming hot water, and add your t-shirt dye. Then stir the water and dye together. Using a rag you don't mind being blue for the rest of its life, apply the blue stain to the wood, being sure to coat all edges completely. A technique I used for this project was to apply a thick layer of the stain, then just mop it up with the rag. Apply as many coats as you'd like, but I used 2 coats on these. Allow to dry completely. Overnight would probably be best. Then you can apply your polyurethane. Apply it to the top and all 4 sides. We'll get the bottom later. After that has completely dried, take the fine grit sandpaper, dunk it in some water, then lightly sand over where you already applied the polyurethane. Dry it with a napkin or a paper towel, then flip the boards over and apply a thick layer of polyurethane to the bottom. Be sure not to have any runs on the sides after application. While that is drying, you can hang your brackets. Using chalk, I marked where my shelf would reach and where my brackets would go. I suggest anchoring into your studs for a more secure shelf. For these particular brackets, I needed to install my top screw, then slide my bracket over the screw. Then using the level, you can align your bracket and install the bottom screw. After failing miserably on trying to install the drywall anchors, I decided to go with just screwing into the studs. But anyways, install the remaining brackets, being sure to use your level as you go to ensure everything is going to be level at the finish. After all the brackets are installed and your polyurethane is completely dry, you can apply your second coat to the top of the boards. Let that dry completely. Finally, you can place your boards on the brackets and fasten them using the small screws.
Boom, there you have it. A quick and easy way to add some shelf flair, or would it be wall flair? Anyways, a good way to add some flair to that game room. Hey, if any of you guys have any suggestions on games or ideas you'd like me to make into some flair, leave them in the comments below. Or you could leave me a message on Twitter @halfhandicap. But best, you can go to my Facebook page, 15 Pieces of Flair with Jay Peak. Leave me a message on there. You might win something while you're there, like 3 people just did. Anyways, don't forget, 15 pieces of flair is the bare minimum. Some people choose to do more, and we encourage that. Have fun, everybody.
Hi there, throat Munchies. I'm Forrest from Bowers Game Corner. I'm back again for 3 reasons why I do something vaguely related to the number 3. Now, I was going to dig deeper down into some game designers, but I'm actually going to put that on the back burner. I'm going to be talking about the upcoming convention, Origins 2017, and I'm going to be talking about my 3 most anticipated games of Origins 2017. So first and foremost, Codenames Duet from CGE. Now there's Codenames Picture, there's vanilla Codenames, there's going to be Codenames Disney, and a bunch of other Codenames coming out, but this one excites me the most. This is a 2-player cooperative version of Codenames where you're going to take turns being the clue giver and then also being the clue receiver, and I love doing both of those in the game. 2 players only. I think this is a game that me and my wife are really going to enjoy. That is Codenames Duet. Looks really cool. Next is Macroscope from Mayday Games. So this is a guessing game with really cool components. And the main component is going to be like this lock box that you're going to have. And there's going to be these circles on top of this box, and inside the box, you're going to shove a picture. And you're not going to know what that picture is. You're going to roll some dice, and then you're going to be slowly removing the circles that are covering up the picture and then trying to guess the picture. Looks incredibly light, incredibly simple, but incredibly up my alley. Looks like a really fun family game. It's also getting some good early reviews as well, plus great components. So I'm really excited for Macroscope from Mayday Games. Number 3 is the game I'm most excited about. It's actually an expansion, and that is Tiny Epic Galaxies Beyond the Black expansion. I recently played Tiny Epic Galaxies and I can't get it out of my mind. I just really loved that game and what it did, and this is going to add more. First and foremost, upgradable ships. It's going to have specialized pilots you'll be able to hire, and each pilot is going to have its own different special abilities. So not only are you going to have your own special planets and colonies you'll be able to do stuff with, now you'll have your own special pilots. Really excited about that. Not to mention, it has a press your luck exploration aspect that they're putting in there. I love press your luck. There already was a little bit of press your luck with trying to get those colonies down there, but I am really excited about what this is going to add to what is quickly becoming one of my new favorite dice games. So that is Tiny Epic Galaxies Beyond the Black. So those are the 3 most anticipated games of Origins 2017 that I'm excited about. In the comments below, let me know what is your most anticipated game of Origins 2017. And as always, back to more throat punchy goodness.
Hey everyone, it's Mark Zielinski and welcome to your lunch. Today, we're going to talk about another range of paints. And this range of paints comes from the Army Painter. They've put out multiple paint sets for different types of board games. They put out this one for Super Dungeon Explorer. They've done Zombicide. They're doing the Room Wars, the miniatures game. And the Army Painter has its roots in producing paints for miniature war games. So they also put out proprietary sets for Kings of War. But we're here to talk about this particular set to give you an idea of what you get in a box when you get these. And take a look at the paints, and we'll go from there. So let's go ahead and hit the close cam. All right, here we go. Now, this is one of the proprietary sets that the Army Painter has come out with for board games. This one is for Zombicide Black Plague. You can see the cool Midi or Not logo right there. And this particular set is fantastic because I mean, they targeted specifically for board gamers, which is fantastic, and they give you a nice selection of paints. And again, like I said, they're trying to get you to have nice-looking miniatures without a lot of effort, and that is what the Army Painter system is all about. So, but we're not here to talk about that one today. We're here to talk about the Super Dungeon Explorer painting set. As you can see, they came out with a set of paints that they think are going to be very good for you to use for Super Dungeon Explorer, and in particular, to paint the free miniature that comes in the box. So why don't we go ahead and see what comes in the box here. And when you open up your Army Painter box, you're going to find this super cool miniature right here in the package. This is a Barbarian. And then you're going to find these various paints that are here. And you get the Army Painter paintbrush. These are actually really good paint brushes. All right. Now, with Army Painter paints, you can tell what kind of paint it is by just looking at the cap. The paints with the white caps, those are regular paints. The ones with the black caps, those are going to be your metallics. And then the ones with the red caps, they're going to be your shaders. Okay, this is what's going to bring your miniature to life. All right. Now, one of the things about Army Painter paints is they are very, very thick. Okay, So you definitely want to thin your paints here. And if you're a beginner, you can just paint straight out of the pot because you're going to get the miniatures painted faster and with more coverage. All right. Now, also in this box, to help you along painting, you are going to find a miniature painting guide by legendary painter Mr. McVeigh. All right. So he was a longtime Games Workshop painter, and he takes you step by step in painting your miniature. They tell you what you're going to need, how do you start, a step-by-step guide on how to do it, how to do the chibi eyes, and everything else. So this is a great set because not only do you get the paints, the brushes, and the miniature, you get step-by-step instructions by a painting master who's a legend in the miniature painting world. So in addition to that, inside here, which I find really exciting, oh, a little blurb there for the Forgotten King, you get the Army Painter Wargamers Guide. All right. So if you enjoy painting miniatures and stuff like that, this is an invaluable book. And the great thing, it's free. So you can check that out. And it goes all through the Army Painter system, which is a little more in depth than what you get in the box. Okay. This goes through all the different various things and painting and base coating and how to do your sprays. It gives you a breakdown on the entire line of Army Painter paints. All right, as you're going through there. And one of the other thing is how to use quick shade. They make a quick shade it's kind of like Minwax, and you dip your miniatures in them, and you can see the difference in the tones depending on which variety you get, you know, what it does for your miniature. Here you can see a base coated miniature, and then right here you can see it after a dip. Okay, so this is what dipping is. If you ever hear the term dipping your miniatures, that's what the Army Painter is all about. All right, now that's a quick look at the Army Painter series of paints. Like I said, they're really moving into board games, which is fantastic. And I really like using the Army Painter paints. I have entire war game armies that I have painted using those paints. Now, on Countercharge, we do something called CCKOWAWS, or Countercharge Kings of War Army in a Weekend Spectacular. And during one of those, I took the Army Painter Challenge, and I painted my entire army with Army Painter paints. Now, we are going to be having another Countercharge Kings of War Army in a Weekend Spectacular coming up in July or early August 2017. I'll get back with you on the exact date. But during that, we're not just going to be painting war game armies, we're also going to be painting board games. All right? So if you're interested, and instead of painting an army in a weekend, you can paint a board game in a weekend, we would ask that you join us. All right? If you go to Twitter, check out @CCKOWAWS. That is the Twitter feed for Kings of War Army in a Weekend, and you can get information there. Now, every Friday night, one of the new members of the Countercharge team, Jeremy Duval, hosts what we call After Dark. All right? During After Dark right now, people are assembling and priming and painting their, or assembling, priming, they're not allowed to paint. They're assembling and priming their miniatures to get ready for the next Kings of War Army in a Weekend Spectacular. All right? So, if you are around on a Friday night, Jeremy starts the feed about 6 o'clock p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and then you can go ahead and jump in, and we have people from all around the world painting with us. Cambodia, Australia, the UK, the US, and also you'll find Ryan Smith on there, who is an award-winning painter as well. So again, I encourage you to join us over there on After Dark. All right, and one final shout out. I want to give a shout out to my friend Daniel King. We had 5 people from the UK come over to the Kings of War Lone Wolf tournament. We went off with 92 players, which was fantastic. And Dan ended up taking out the entire tournament. So congratulations to Mr. King. And I really, really am glad that you came over. And hopefully the U.S. contingent can make it over to the U.K. All right? So until next time, folks, take care.
And so that's that for this episode of Throat Punch Lunch. I want to thank all of my contributors that are staying at it, and I really do appreciate all the work that you guys put into this episode and your segments. I would also want to give just a shout of encouragement to those contributors that are having a rough go right now. Just stay at it, take care of your stuff, and then we'll welcome you back when you get here. So thank you guys for watching. We appreciate it, and we'll see you guys on the flip side.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.